Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, or good night, wherever wherever you
Hello.
are, depending on what time of the day you are on. And hi, Fabio, welcome back.
Thanks.
So we're back with yet another episode of the Security Bear podcast. I think this is should be the seventh one. Did I make a wrong title? I think so.
No.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yes, it could be. Yes.
yeah, I think we can actually change it on the
You've
fly. Yep, so that should be enough. Okay, so I'm sorry because I don't have that much energy today, but I'll pretend that I have actually. So, hi everyone again. You are watching the Security Bread podcast. I'm Giorgio. Today with me, there's Fabio Zambrino, which I thank again for joining me for another chat. Hi, Fabio. Um, if this is the first time for you to watch this project of mine, we're just collecting a bunch of security news from the last week and basically having a chat around them, trying to understand what are the meanings, what are the implications, and sharing some thoughts on a very chill discussion that we really hope you can join as well. We are currently live on Twitch. Hit the follow button if you like the project. But this and all of the other episodes are also uploaded on YouTube in a few days and on Spotify or any other podcast platform that you like if you prefer to just listen to the audio. So that should
I
be
would
enough.
also add, Giorgio, I would
Yeah.
also add that you're publishing a lot on Instagram. So some reels are published on Instagram. You also have a page on Instagram. I don't know if TikTok is also that active, but yes, on Instagram you
Yeah.
publish a lot of stuff, and it's useful to have these short reels to look and have some peels of the podcast.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. It's actually like I would say a hidden feature.
No more
I
hidden.
like like it's not just Instagram. Actually, I'm trying to use as many social as possible. It's just not probably the core of the project. I'm trying to share as much thing as possible. But whatever social you prefer, probably if you search security break, you will find us. So feel free to look for us. Let's say that this is kind of an awesome challenge. Look for us and try to find on which social
And
the
whenever you
project
spot
is.
us, just comment or something so that we know you found us.
Yeah, yeah, we should like place an hashtag security back spotted or something.
It could be
No,
interesting
thank.
as a challenge.
Yeah, actually, thank you for mentioning that. Again, whatever social or platform you prefer, search for us, and we should be there. But the best thing happens here. So if you want to participate in the discussion, tune up in Twitch, so you can actually comment while we are discussing, and you can participate in the discussion itself. Asking questions or commenting, and maybe adding something that we didn't mention or that we don't really know about the news that we are reading, right? So you are more than welcome if you want to do that. And of course, whatever social you like, just click subscribe, follow, share, whatever you you have in front of
Whatever
you
you
as a
like.
button. Yeah, that will really help the project to just to continue happening, because we need a feedback to understand if this is interesting for anyone else but us, because I think it's interesting for me. It's already enjoying, and I really like to have this sort of discussion with multiple people from the industry, because Fabio is here today and I thank him very much. but we are trying to have as many different people as possible in every episode, so we can a little differentiate the skills, the background, and the knowledge involved in the conversation itself. But I think that's enough. I think we can just jump on the juicy stuff. um what do you think, Fabio? Are we ready for it?
Yes. Yes.
Great.
Always
So
ready.
let's do it. Okay, so yeah, my screen should um
Yes.
be available. And that's it. So as we said, we already selected a bunch of news. I think we had some not very big but very interesting news, which are worth definitely a discussion, right? To see what do they really mean, right? What are the implications? And this is, the one that is shared on the screen for the people who are watching, is the first one. Just a little introduction. Basically, VirusTotal, that we will maybe explain what it is in just a second, um, just publicly apologized for, let's say, a data leak, they call it, affecting a number of customer of theirs. The point is that the data leak itself was caused by their own employee who uploaded a file with sensitive data, with customer data, on their own platform. And because of how the platform works, yeah, it actually share the same data with every user of the platform, which is interesting. It's not the usual data leak that we are used to see, right? We used to
Definitely.
see, attackers breaching a platform and sharing the data outside of the platform, not the
Mm,
platform itself
yeah,
uploading data.
exactly. And
So
trying to get something out of it, so selling them or getting benefits out of the data they are leaking. And in this case, well, I think that uh, we are always human, so the human factor is always in the middle of the things, because always, also when we got some attacks and data leaks came from an attack, and behind there is a human error, so somehow it was not protected enough, or people putting wrong permissions on files. So definitely the human factor plays a huge role. And in this case, it's well, it's nice that they did the due diligence, telling people, hey, we did the mistake. They could also they could hide behind the fact that there, there was an hacking attack or something, but the truth the truth is always the best thing. They are a security company, so they're doing many different things, not only the well-known homepage. Like VirusTotal is like Google. They have a huge homepage with the main activity, but then behind there are so many things they're doing, and they could also have just hide behind the fact that there was a cyber attack, but they said the truth, and an employee made a mistake, some data were published, but the fact is that the strange thing, in my opinion, is that only premium customer data were published to other premium customer data.
yeah,
This is strange. I mean, it's just a small subset of users, very specific, and it's like
yeah.
uh, putting them to know each other. I don't
Each
know how to
other.
say. Yeah, yeah,
Like they introduce each other, right?
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like a, I don't know, a company event or something.
yeah, yeah.
Actually, it's not that strange if you're used to use the platform itself, right? So for
Okay.
that reason, I'm going to just have a step back and try to explain for whoever doesn't know about VirusTotal yet, right? So VirusTotal is this, I would say, a platform or software as a service, probably from Google itself, if I'm not wrong. So it's a
Nice.
sub company from Google or something, and I think it started just as a way to like upload a file or an executable, right? So
Mhm.
that that file can be scanned by multiple antivirus platform at the same time, right? So they are basically placing all of those different engines, so all of those different antivirus softwares, which all of them are scanning the same individual file, right?
Mhm.
And you can get the result for all of them, right? So you have this both a comparison between the antiviruses. So many people are using it in that way, so they can compare, let's say, who's the best, or just what platform is the most effective on the last malware, or
Mhm.
just to know that there could actually be false positives here and there, right? So if you have a result from not just one, not just two, but I don't know, 10 or 20 different antiviruses, and you see that all of them or 90% of them give you a true positive, so meaning that says to you, okay, this is actually a malware, beware. Definitely you can be you can trust them more than just one single software, right?
Correct.
But and this is what it's freely available for anyone. So if you go to VirusTotal right now, you can do that without an account, without having to paying anything or anything like that. But there's actually like a list. There are so many, a list of uh, paid features, right? So if you create an account and pay the subscription
Subscription.
to to the platform, you can do many other things. You can do some actual you can get some threat intelligence they are collecting, right? So if you upload the file, you can see whether the file was shared before, by who, which I don't know, domains or IP address were contacting this file in the past, any other associations, hashes, and so on and so forth. And you can actually do, I would say, uh, part of an automatic malware analysis, probably for people doing that specifically. It's very useful. So this is the interesting thing, right? As Fabio mentioned before, I think they could have done two different things here, right? Many companies who just do some damages or just some wrong stuff on the internet always hide behind a cyber attack. So it's not my responsibility. It's because of some bad people targeting me, right? On the other end, if you are a security company, it's actually I think it affects your reputation as a security company if you just says, okay, I was breached. So probably most of the security firms out there are should try to avoid that. I'm not sure.
Mhm.
Even in the case of a real cyber attack, maybe they
Yeah.
want to try to avoid to say, okay, we are a security firm, you should pay us to protect you, but we were breached as well. That's not really a good thing. So I think that's what, at least one of the reason why they just prefer to say straightforward, oh, this was our fault, this was our employee doing something as a mistake. And the reason why, so I started all the discussion just to say just this phrase. The reason why it makes sense why just few users were able to see the sensitive data is because basically this was part of the paid subscription, right?
Okay.
It's part of that feature. So whenever you upload a file as a free guest, like
Mhm.
a free user, you get the results from the antiviruses, but that's it.
Yeah.
On the other end, if you are like a paying user, you can still see the history of all the files that were uploaded in the past. Meaning that if you
Okay.
uploaded a file, you can do a search and find out, okay, yesterday user X uploaded this file, and this file had all of this,
Uh,
information about it, right?
okay, clear.
Uh, so I think from my experience that's the case right here. Um, so yeah, in this case, I don't know, the if the FBI uploads a file and this is analyzed in the platform, tomorrow the I don't know, the NCA access the platform, it could get the same information that the FBI shared before. They just don't know that it was the FBI, of course, because they don't want to
Yeah, sure.
share information about their customers.
Yeah, sure.
That's it.
Okay,
That
clear.
should make sense.
I was not aware of that feature because I never use it with the premium account, but
Hmm.
that's clear now. Okay, now I'm more clear why only premium customer were able to see other
Each other.
information. Yeah, about the premium customers. Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about it, and would I be how would be my work affected? I would be a bit nervous about this, but depending on the information that were shared in the file, I could also say, okay, people, other premium user will know that we were looking for this file, but this could be a big issue for some companies doing maybe malware analysis or threat intelligence. But for most of the users, maybe it's just okay, my email was linked to my account name. I don't
Once
know.
again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's more, depending on which email address were used, depending on which kind of information were really exposed, then you are getting more and more nervous. But at least nobody's able to use my personal account or my account to do research
Yeah,
and maybe put fake data with my account. So the leakage was um, more on just personal information and not login information. So this
yeah,
would have been
yeah.
worse in my opinion.
In, in, in fact, like they didn't share any credentials, right? Any username and password to access the platform, or at least that's what they say. And I actually highlighted here. Hopefully, it's readable. That the file that was actually a CSV file contain names of the companies, associated VirusTotal group names, email addresses for the administrators, right? So again, nothing that could be, I would say, probably reused for an attack. But I think the biggest problem here is that mostly, apparently, in the file were contained how do you say it? Uh, Secret services, right, from different
Okay.
governments, right? So you are actually publishing what tool, like what software, so many of those government agencies are using,
Yeah.
which is an important information if you're maybe planning a supply chain attack, right?
Yeah.
You are targeting a specific organization, and to reach that organization, you are actually trying to maybe attack another, provider, or any other company that is um, working
Related.
together with,
Yeah.
right, with your target. So I don't think it's probably that's simple to target Google in this case, as many other providers, but still we also know that no one is 100% secure. So
Yeah.
this is a possibility, right?
Hmm.
If you want to target, let's say that again, many United States agencies were leaked from this file. Let's say that you are part of a threat group that is against the United States country, and in order to target the United States government, you could technically find out if you just pay a subscription to Google, and
Hmm.
with some queries, some searches, you could technically find something about them as well, right? So I
Yeah.
think this is the biggest problem there. And even if, of course, the United States agencies such as Cyber Command, I'm just reading, right? Cyber
Hmm.
Command, Department of Justice, FBI, NCA were part of the data. There are actually agencies from all over other countries like
Yeah,
Germany,
Germany,
Netherlands,
Netherlands.
yeah,
Yes.
United Kingdom, and so on. So it's a lot of, let's say, sensitive information anyway, right?
Yeah, somehow,
Uh,
somehow, yes. You're discovering information that they're trying to hide somehow. And maybe it's not something that people will use today or tomorrow, but they put it in the desk drawer together with all the information they're able to get. And maybe one day they will say, ha, there is a 0 day on, I don't know, this
Whatever.
software. Let me check if NSA was using it. And they try, and maybe they, boom, they make a big hit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just
Yeah,
imagine.
or even more simple, right? If think there were some email addresses, I think we
Hmm.
mentioned before.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, what about just phishing, right?
Yeah.
I spoof, so I basically just disguise myself with another account without having actually to compromise that account. So I send an email to someone from the government, we like um, disguising myself as someone from the FBI, right?
Hmm.
And that could eventually lead to
Yeah.
an
True.
actual data leak or compromise or everything. So
True.
there are some ways you could still use this for malicious purposes. It could be worse, of
Yeah.
course, but I think the best thing here is that not only Aristotle um, declared this, but they also said that they removed the file, I think, in just 1 hour
Yeah.
after
Very
they
quickly.
published it. So hopefully, it was not really shared here and there.
Spread.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And one thing that I always think about, and it's never discussed very much. It's how to react to a data leak. So not the company itself, but who was inside the
Hmm.
leaked information. So let's suppose, as a company or private user, my information are there. So in this case, in this specific case, it's not just change your password. It's more, we we would like to know which information were exposed. What do we do then? Do we change email addresses? Do we change? I don't know. I could also think to change the email address of this person, just create an alias to continue receive the email, but the primary email address will change so that in a few months we can remove the account. And I don't know. Yeah, it's something that I was thinking about when reading the article, because we always, nowadays, we already told many times, we hear and read about data leak every day, but we think about the consequences or the actions to be taken, not that much, in my opinion. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's
really
true.
it's easy when it's just a matter of changing password. It's easy. People will you will say to people, yes, just change your password because only your password was leaked, your username and password was leaked. But in this case, many information were disclosed, so
So
bigger.
this is I think this is a top topic,
Yeah.
also because it really changes depending on are you like just a private user and your data was exposed, or that was data from a company, right? Because taking a decision as a individual is something. Taking a decision like that for maybe a corporate, so a very big company,
Yeah.
when maybe you had multiple users compromised or multiple user data compromised, it's definitely more difficult. as an individual, you could probably just change your credentials, your username, even your provider, maybe also every time your credentials are exposed. Like, it's an issue if you are using that for maybe your work relationship, right? Because you have to maybe say to all of the people, like, this is my new account.
Yeah, exactly.
But on a company, it's really tough. I'm just thinking, what about all of your customers? What about all of your providers that have the previous email? So it's not something that you can decide on the spot or just without thinking very much about it. And at the same time, there could be probably other things that you could do as a response, as a consequence to a data leak like this. I don't know,
Hmm.
thinking about starting to do uh, I would say threat intelligence. Like, what if
Yeah,
I collect the data that were shared? What if I research where this file was spreading, right? And what kind of threat groups could leverage this data? And so I just collect information about the threat groups, and I start, proactively enhancing my security measures to defend from those threats
yeah,
specifically.
yeah, exactly.
Again, it's not a simple thing, of course. It says already that you are pretty, advanced, let's say, pretty mature in how you address security threats. But you know, it's probably I don't know, easier as a decision to take. Like, you're not changing
Mm.
anything; you're just still raising the bar of your internal security. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, as usual, it's not. Security is not simple in general.
No, not at all. Yeah, yeah, because too many factor are, let's say, is a today should be a commodity somehow, so should be hidden. It's not something that you need to care about too much somehow, but you need to care about a lot. So as so working in the cybersecurity field, mainly in the blue team, so in the defense part, it's difficult because you need to be there, but nobody should know. So maybe you just ask for the budget for something, but then don't worry, everything will be fine, we will be protected, everything will be secure. But you need to connect to many, many, many aspects to be really sure that everything works fine. So yes,
Yeah, I
it's
would
tough.
say they will know that you are there when you ask for a budget.
Yes,
When you ask
or
for
when
money.
something happens, or when some.
Of
So
course.
if you have a good management and you just ask for budget and everything goes fine, then cool. They will complain the moment you ask for budget, but then everything works fine. If you ask for budget and then some months later something happens, something big happens, then
Yeah.
maybe maybe they're not that happy anymore. They could start
Let's
complaining.
say that if you want to work in this industry, think a couple of times before before deciding, because it's definitely not a role in the company that is you know uh, on the spot for good reasons, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Mostly
exactly.
you are accused, unfortunately. But it's I think it's our job. It's
Yeah,
more like
and we like it somehow. I think that we like
yeah.
it somehow. Yeah.
I think that's the problem, actually. It's like
I'll
I
tell it
don't
to my
know.
psychologist. I'll tell it.
It's like an obsession or something.
Yeah.
That's not the reason why I'm doing this on a Saturday morning. Absolutely not.
No, no, no,
Absolutely
no, no, no,
not.
no.
Okay, so what else about this news? Spoke about VirusTotal. We said about the customers involved. That, by the way, I mentioned the government agencies, but there are stuff like a bunch of banks or just automotive providers. But I think because this is mentioning only German companies specifically, so yeah, there was
But
pretty much everything, right?
yeah,
VirusTotal
because
is a big platform.
Exactly. The article refers to the two other articles from German newspapers.
Mm,
So maybe that's why they talk about German big companies. Something interesting for sure will be the fact that I hope I would say that also threat intelligence companies are using VirusTotal, so they will have some information outside now that they wouldn't have shared. But
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the problem, right? If you're using it, it means that you're leveraging this tool, right?
yeah,
So you have some capabilities you are trying to defend. Maybe you are a big target for threat groups, right? And any information leaked by a big company like this, of course, it's very interesting for threat actors. I think that's the point.
let's say
Whatever you are sharing.
it's quite a reference VirusTotal, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a
it's
big tool.
widely used.
Again, uh, just personal opinion, but it's very, very, very useful to have a platform like this. No matter what's your role, actually, because it can be useful in many different ways. Even as a free user, like in my personal life, I will prefer to use VirusTotal instead of you know um, just relying on any other individual antivirus provider, right? So,
Yeah,
yeah,
correct.
pretty big one.
I agree. Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Um, but I think that's the best time to just switch to the next thing.
Yep,
This was
agree.
interesting, but we have something else. Um, so second news of the day, and I thought this was pretty interesting as well. Just
It's an episode. It's an episode about big names, I would say. Sorry,
Fabio, right?
sorry. I don't know if it was my connection, but I've lost you for some seconds, and I don't
Yeah,
know what you. Sorry, it's because I'm having some issues with the connection, and I don't know if it was me
yeah, no
or the
problem, no problem.
something.
I, I
Um,
I would say that that was probably the platform we are using because it was the same for me.
okay,
So okay. Anyway, it was just like a second or so.
yeah,
Hopefully, we're still live and still, yeah. I think it's fine.
yeah.
Anyway, so coming back to our news here, this is also not something that you see every day, right? So we are talking about let's say a new ransomware, specifically a ransomware as a service. More of that in a second. That this time is like disguising as a, like, I would say, as a product from a security firm
Hmm.
called Sophos, right? We were talking about antiviruses before. Sophos is one of those firms. Um, I think it's doing antiviruses. Like, I don't know very good the company, but they are definitely doing an endpoint solution. I'm not sure if they are doing
Yeah,
anything else. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, so the very interesting thing is that this ransomware, again, let's just briefly explain it. A ransomware is just a malware who which encrypts files and systems, so you as the owner cannot access them anymore. And in order to regain access to them, what you have to do is actually pay the attackers a ransom, so
Hmm.
they can share with you the decryption key, and you can decrypt your own files.
You can
Uh,
cry
ra-
and
the-
decrypt your file. You can
of
cry
course,
and decrypt your file.
because let's remember, everyone, if you pay a ransomware gang, you are paying a criminal, so you are trusting a criminal to give you back your files. So it's totally up to you. I personally will not suggest that, but again, it depends. um, Here we're talking about actually a ransomware as a service. What does it mean? It means that basically someone is developing the malware itself and is just selling to other attackers who just buy the malware and ship that to their targets, basically. Okay, so who is deploying the malware on your environment as a target is not the same person or the same group or the same organization who is actually developing the malware itself. It means also that there's a potential spread that's much bigger, right?
Yeah.
Because anyone can technically buy it and use the malware without any particular skill or any software development knowledge or anything like that.
Yeah.
And the news is about the fact that the malware itself, so it's doing multiple things. It's The malware itself is called something like um, Sophos encrypt, right? So
Yeah.
that's the name of the malware. When it encrypts file, so it's very common from malwares that the malware changes the name of the file when the file is encrypted and append a new file extension. In this case, the new file extension is .sophos. Okay. And the most interesting thing, at least for me, is that the malware also changes the background of the wallpaper, right,
The desktop. Yeah.
of the computer with something like this that I'm sharing on my screen. So basically, with the Sophos brand or logo in the very center. Like they really, I'm not sure for the reason, but they are really trying to say, okay, this is a software from Sophos, right? Even the researchers that found out about this malware first thought it was like something like an adversary simulation tool
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
from Sophos. What I mean is that companies are also building softwares to simulate attacks, right? So you can simulate in your own company and try to defend from that. So that it could technically be a case in general, but Sophos declared that no, we're not behind this.
Yeah, exactly. And also
Thankfully,
I would say that if you're doing testing inside or yeah, creating this kind of software, you will not call it with your own name, your company name that uh, that big, let's say. It's I don't know how to call it. It's not an impersonation, but it's something tricky also for users because users nowadays they're more and more used to paying attention to names, URLs, because of phishing. I would say more and more than 10 years ago, but we are still far
yeah,
from people paying real attention because phishing is still a big thing. But they look at the name, they pay attention, but they don't pay too much attention. So if they say Sophos, and maybe they are using Sophos as a personal solution, because there is a free version of Sophos, maybe, or I don't remember, a short amount,
I
a
have no
short.
idea.
Uh, 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 so people know
You mean like
Sophos.
a freemium software,
Yeah,
like something that you can
yeah,
use for free and then
antivirus
buy
or
later?
something. No, okay, no, I think it's not. I'm just looking at the website now.
Okay.
But yeah, in any case, Sophos is quite used because if you work in a medium big company, many solution can be used, and you should have an agent on your PC, and you're used to the name Sophos or the logo or stuff like that. So if you receive an email from Sophos, you say, oh, okay, that's fine. It's maybe the update of the antivirus or something like this, and you just download it. Then you pay attention and say, oh shit, it was Sophos Encrypt, not Sophos. Why didn't I read the encrypt? Why didn't they put encrypt Sophos instead of Sophos Encrypt? Let's think about it. So it's marketing also in this case. They did a good job, unfortunately, also on that. Yeah, it's it's a good play for the name. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
you
sure.
know, I think I'm a bit confused because it's not clear for me what was the goal behind this, right? What's the motive? Um, like I try to think, what if I'm targeted by this malware, right? What if this affect my company, and I'm the the IT or the person responsible for the systems, and I see this, the spreading in my network, and it sees Sophos everywhere, and where it depends if Sophos is a provider of mine
Yeah,
or not. But still, if I fall for it, right, if I really think this is from Sophos, the point is that I'm not gonna pay upfront. I'm gonna call Sophos, right?
yeah,
Which I don't know. It could be a way to slow down the response. Like I'm not going to block my systems because I don't want the malware to spread and more system to be encrypted. And I just call Sophos to understand what's happening, and
hmm,
maybe in this case the attacker has the time to spread more, maybe to find in the meantime data to exfiltrate and whatever, and that's maybe the only thing that comes to my head, like why the attacker should do something like this. Because
hmm,
on the other on if the goal, like any ransomware as a service stuff, is to make the victims pay the ransom, I think this doesn't help paying the ransom, right? Because you are trying to figure out who's behind it, if you really have to pay, or this is some like simulation or something.
yeah,
If I am just an end employee, I'm gonna think, oh, this is another one of those phishing campaigns where the IT is
yeah,
testing me, right?
yeah,
So this is
yeah,
bothering. Like this will slow down the payment as well, or that's my opinion.
yeah. But behind, if you're not paying, maybe because I didn't went through the full analysis, but I think that the another possibility is that they could create a way to get back. So they create backdoors. They can, who knows? So they gain access and they keep the access. It can be.
Yeah.
So if the antivirus will take 3 hours to discover, or if the SIEM is not taking Sophos information inside, or is escaping. So I don't know how to say it. Whitelisting everything from Sophos, because
Hmm.
Sophos is widely used in the company. So everything
Oh, okay.
from Sophos is okay for me. Then how can so I will spot it from a user, and it's slowing down, and it also giving possibility to spread something else inside the systems. So create persistency or opening backdoors. Who knows? But again, I'm just supposing because I didn't went through the full analysis.
Yeah, yeah, right. It's the same for me, but this is actually interesting. I wasn't thinking about that. Like, if you call everything Sophos, or if you put like a very common and very well known antivirus or security term in it, there could be a possibility that you actually have allow list or whitelist in places to avoid checking, or to avoid auditing certain processes or executables and everything like that, right? Something like, okay, I have my detection system, right, to find out about attacks that are ongoing in my network. But every time I get a notification about something legitimate, maybe caused by my antivirus or something,
Hmm,
at
hmm,
some point I can decide to filter that out, okay, saying, okay, this is actually legit. I don't want to be bothered by this specific notification. So what I will do, what many solutions out there are permitting you to do, is to create a specific filter saying, okay, anything mentioning Sophos or any other thing, right? Kaspersky or Avast or whatever it is, um, it's actually legit, and I want to um,
To let it
you know,
go, let's say normal.
yeah, to suppress the notification itself, right, the alert itself. So that could be actually a possibility. um yeah, that's an
Yeah,
interesting
that's the only
scenario.
thing I was seeing as a mm, let's call it behind the scenes of why
Hmm.
impersonating Sophos. So not only to have more reach, because if you use Sophos name, people is it's
It's
more
more
easy,
trustworthy, right?
yeah, trustworthy, and it will click. Uh, but also the fact that if I need to think as a security defender inside the company, if I have Sophos, I would not pay too much attention if Sophos is doing something strange, because it's Sophos, it's an antivirus. It's
Yeah,
maybe there are many solutions of Sophos inside. Maybe it's sometimes it creates false positive because it gets CPU usage or stuff like that, and I will not get too much attention on it. I will continue
yeah,
doing my stuff, but behind this, the process will do many other things.
yeah. I think that that's still the most um just the how can I say this, probable thing, right? The most probable reason why they're doing something like this, just to give the attacker more time to reach their goal on the network. And
Yeah,
as you said, more time means anything like letting the malware spread more. Like the more systems I encrypt, the more the victim will be willing to pay a ransom, or time to find the data to exfiltrate. Because I just remember that many ransomware gangs out there are doing both of them, encrypting the files, exfiltrating the data, and saying, if you don't pay the ransom, I'm gonna do the exfiltration as well. And yeah, as you mentioned again, could give attackers the time to set up persistence. With with persistence, we actually mean anything like that will enable the attacker to return to the environment even if defenders are trying to kick them off from the network,
yeah,
right? So a vector, as you said, so anything like another malware that is listening for you to go back into the network, or any scheduled process that is re-enabling the malware even after they are cleaned out, and so on and so forth, right? It's actually
yeah.
one of the um, very steps of the attacker kill chain, right? So all of
Hmm.
those individual steps that all attackers do in order to eventually reach their goals. Persistence is one of them, and it's actually a very important one, both for them and for, I will say, security practitioners. Because
Hmm.
even if you do eradication, so even if you think that you cleaned all of your system and the attacker is not there, and you already spent so much time and efforts in doing so, tomorrow you will see that probably the attacker is still there and they can do even more damage. So that's the probably the worst part, right?
Yeah,
um, yeah, and that's, yeah, the problem is most of the time it's actually tricky to find out about persistence, so you want to avoid that before the attacker actually set up
yeah.
their persistence.
Yeah, the
So yeah,
problem with ransomware is also this, because you need time to recover. So your primary goal is so for the business is to recover the systems. So I need my system running up and running again. From a security and incident response perspective, I should be checking and preserving as much as possible to check where the ransom hit, because the ransomware hit, because maybe they're just encrypting the files, maybe they're creating persistency, maybe they are going I don't know, changing user passwords, stuff like that. And if you don't know, or creating other users, additional users on the systems, and they can do whatever they want if they are good enough. So uh, it's always they are pushing on that fact that uh, you rush to put the systems back, um, and and you pay for it usually. So they don't think about, so they leverage the fact that security, mm, um, sorry,
Yeah,
security, so the
protections.
incident response part, yes, the incident response parts, it's always um in the second place,
Yeah,
behind the fact that we want the system back in production. So yeah.
yeah. Just because they, many business out there just waiting for the system to be restored, they are losing money, right?
Yeah,
They are not
exactly.
delivering their service, they are not serving their customer, and so on and so forth. So each minute, each hour, each day that they cannot operate, it's
Yeah.
money that the business is losing. And I'm just thinking, what about, okay, you spend so much time and effort recovering from a ransomware, and the very day after, you found out that the attacker is there and they deploy the malware from scratch. That is something that we've seen in the past, right?
Yeah.
uh, the second time, even if you are able to recover again, you know, management is going to decide, okay, I cannot, allow to lose more money because, I have to lose more time, and still I will not be sure to be 100%, back in business. So I will actually prefer to pay the attackers. So I, you know, they should not me target me anymore, which
Yeah, yeah,
again
definitely.
is not, don't take that as granted. um, yeah,
Absolutely.
it's a big topic. I would say that probably ransomware is still the biggest, threat for businesses out there, for most businesses at least.
Yeah. Yeah, it's impacting. Let's say it's one of the most
Yeah,
impacting, I think. But
yeah, it's
talking about
really like a
malwares, sorry, go on, go on, go on.
right. Okay. No, I,
No.
I was just saying that it's a trend, and it's a trend that
Yeah, yeah.
is going on for so long that is not a trend anymore. So
Yeah, yeah. No, exactly. And let's see what happens in the future.
no, you're right. So yeah, you were right. Talking about malwares, we have a very very interesting thing as the next news. But before that, I just want to remember everyone again: if you like the project, if you are watching us or either on Twitch, YouTube, Spotify, or whatever, please take into consideration to just subscribe, share the project with some of your friends that could be interested as well, so that we know that this is useful not only for us but for you as well, and we will continue to do so, basically, right? So
Right.
the more you subscribe and share, the more episodes basically we will do. So thank you very much for that. And that's it. We just move to the next, but not last one, because have a look at the title for this episode. We have one last news that is very important, I will say. So bear with us. The news we are going to talk about right now, it's another very particular one. So basically, an attacker. The news here is mentioning black hat hacker. I don't really know like that term, so I'm just gonna say this attacker right here, like a criminal, like a cyber criminal, uh, actually infected his own computer with probably his own malware, right? And if that's not funny enough, right? It's that if that's not interesting enough, uh, the fact that he infected himself, he or she, actually led to revealing his own identity. Okay, and that's a mess for an attacker, because that's the only thing that you want to avoid, so that
Yeah.
law enforcement cannot find you, and you are also supposed, or at least the world think about you as an attacker as a very computer genius that can never fall for something like this, right? Oh no, the hackers are too smart, too geniuses, they cannot fall for any kind of attacks. And actually, indeed, here we have someone falling for either his own malware or another malware that he was handling. I don't know what's worst, right?
Yeah.
So I like this news because I like to always remember everyone that all of us are humans. Either are, legit defender, ethical hacker, or criminal. We are all humans. We all have our own, uh, you know, um, vulnerabilities, right? And
Yep.
we are vulnerable to anything. You can do a misclick on something. You think that you are clicking on something and you click on something else, or whatever. Or you are just handling so many malwares for your work, and thinking about like a malware analyst, right? You are handling malwares every day. Okay, if you're a smart one or just a very good one, you take precautions, but you can always do mistakes, right? Well, no matter how smart you are, no matter how intelligent you are, everyone can do mistakes. And I think this is a very important case to you know just take into consideration in our job, right?
Yep.
We always like to to make jokes like the problem is between the screen and the chair, right?
Exactly.
uh, I have stupid users that click on fish links every time. No, they are just humans, and we are not done for think in that way by design. Okay, so we have to teach people. We have to try to prevent it from the very beginning. And yeah, apparently criminals are not invulnerable as well, right?
Exactly, to that as well. They are humans again. It can happen that you're just tired. You just had a discussion with someone and you don't pay the right attention to what you're doing because you are used to it. So you are in a automated mode. You do stuff
Hmm.
like you usually do, and boom, you get hit. So it happens every day to everybody, I think, to do something that they were used to do, but they do in a wrong way. And in this case, it's just um, funny somehow because an attacker being attacked by himself. It's funny, but yes, it reveals that we are all humans. So they are not uh, different than us. They are just hitting the right buttons in the right moments and with the right focus. So yeah, everybody can be exposed to something like this. And you, as you just said, we as security professionals, we are not better than others. In So we know something better than someone else. Maybe we can teach people to use it better. But if you ask me about, I don't know, trading, I, I know nothing, and if you talk about it with someone doing trading, he can only teach me. So it's the same for us. It's not that since security needs to be embedded everywhere, that everybody should know it, or we are different than someone doing other businesses. People, every people is a human, and we are humans, but also people using the computers and softwares are humans. They need to have some uh, teaching about how to protect themselves or how to protect their technologies. So yes, we are
Absolutely.
on the same planet or on the same field
Yeah.
in that. So yes, coming back to the article,
Yeah.
this attacker was already, so they discovered who this attacker was. The name is La Citrix. I don't know if the pronunciation is correct, but
Yeah. No idea.
uh, yeah. Um, it seems he was active since 2020, and he got access to many different companies. Why La Citrix? Because he start compromising Citrix technologies
Oh,
in the
really?
beginning.
Oh, right. I,
Yeah,
I didn't
that's
get that.
that's what I read. Yeah, yeah, that's what I read around. I think that this is the reason why, but I'm just supposing. So,
Yeah, it
or
could
maybe
be.
this is just the name that some threat intelligence company may labeled this guy
Mm.
or lady here.
I think
Um,
like the news mentioned, using the online moniker last Citrix. So I think this was the handle, like the username he was using on some forums, right?
yeah, okay,
So I think they decided it themselves,
okay,
if I'm not wrong, right? But still, I think the most interesting thing is that, okay, he infected, or he or she infected his own computer, but the point is that how this led to revealing his identity. The point is that, as the news mentioned, the malware was a info stealer, they call it, which I
yeah,
think is interesting because I think this is probably like I see this term used more and more recently, and I was more used on the term spyware before,
yeah,
right? That should be the kind of the same thing, but today I see more the spyware term assigned to maybe malware affecting mobile devices most of the
yeah,
time, and targeting individuals, compared to InfoSeer that most of the time are targeting computers and servers and target companies in general, right? But still, I think the the definition is the same. It's basically a malware which looks for data or sensitive data to steal and exfiltrate, right, from the network. That should be the definition. And the fact that they were using this info stealer, and they affected their own computer, they were also selling access to this malware on forums. And eventually, like I think a threat intelligence company that should be mentioned somewhere, yeah, Hudson Rock,
huge, yeah,
right? I think they just bought access to it, or just gained access to the malware. And between the different compromised victims, there was the attacker itself, right?
yeah,
Because he was compromising various organizations and deploying this malware, so that when they sell the malware and the access to the data, and basically there's everything in there. But they didn't notice that their own computer was compromised as well. So the data inside their computer was exposed. Okay, so the researchers from Hudson Rock accessed the data, reviewed that this was actually a host owned by the attacker himself. They found information about credentials that were stolen, its own browser. This is actually interesting. Their own browser, that when you log in certain websites, the browser asks you to save your credentials, so you don't have to retype them the next time.
every
He
time,
was
yeah,
doing so, and that means that in their browser there were accesses on multiple different companies that they breached before, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
again, this is something that maybe some security practitioners do not suggest users to do, to save the credentials in the browser, but apparently even attackers are doing so, right? Another
yeah.
evidence that
Then
they
yeah,
are.
depends on what they do with their own browsers. Maybe they have a dedicated browser for hacking because it's easier to test. You know, already stored credential. The browser is prompting me to test this password. I'll test it. Ah, it's not working. I try with another one. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I was asking myself, is this could be that he was just in the beginning testing the info stealer and checking, does this work? So I'm trying to enter this. Does the information that I receive are correct or not? So and then he just forgot about removing the information before publishing. It would be uh, a very noob thing. But again, we are humans, so maybe he just forgot about removing the lines from the database. So
Yeah,
stuff
I don't
like
know what's worse, if they infected their computer by mistake and they didn't notice it, or they did it on purpose for testing, and they did not think to remove any data. I don't really know what's worse. In any case, it was not the best,
Think about having him
choice.
as a guest. Think about having him as a guest and just asking him, "Hey, can you tell us what did you do in the past? How did you do it? And why did you forget about your own computer got infected by the info stealer you were trying to sell around?"
Yeah, that's actually it could be an interesting fact. And yeah, I'll just take the chance. This sounds more like something for Dark Knight Diaries episode,
Yeah.
which we had Jack, the creator of Dark Knight Diaries, in the previous episode together with us, and it was really interesting. So go back and check the sixth episode if you want to see what Jack said during the during our episode. But yeah, so I think I'm checking what we are missing here, right? This is pretty much it. Um, you know, it's interesting to me to read that the company itself that found out about this, they're saying that this is not um, that rare. Actually, that is pretty
Hmm.
common to see stuff like this to happen. I didn't read about it before, but again, it doesn't really surprise me, but still it's interesting, right? If you do this as your role, like if you are doing threat intelligence, if you are researching cyber criminals, it's interesting to see that this could be a possibility, right? You could get access to malware, hoping that you can also get access to the attackers' environments, right? Their, I don't know, their command and controls, or just their own computers, or anything. Because I think that's the ultimate. It's probably the ultimate goal if you are a threat intelligence, operator or something, because the information you can get from a discovery like that, I think there's nothing better than that, right? Not only because, of course, they mentioned that they are going to, share this information with the law enforcement so they can, find the guy, basically, because he's still a criminal. He still has to be, um, you know, uh, to pay for what is doing nowadays. But again, all of the source code you can find on that computer, like source code for malwares or decryption keys or data of other companies that maybe don't really know they have been compromised, right? This is actually a very, very big discovery. And it's of course useful for the company itself because they're probably gonna sell a lot after
Hmm.
that.
Hmm. Yeah.
But it's still important, because if you just let the companies know, you have been compromised, this data is being shared outside. If you didn't know about it, that's the stuff, right? Hopefully they did already. They didn't know already, but it could definitely be that most company out there, they don't even notice they were affected by an incident, which is the worst part. That just we said before that the more time the attacker is in your environment, the more damage they can do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is there anything else? What do you think, Fabio?
No,
Think.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So get that's let us go to the very end of the episode with the last news. That it's a particular one. Okay. So probably you read the title already, and you also read the news already. If you are into in the industry, or just passionate about this industry, um, so I just want to make a little introduction, because this is not what I usually select as kind of news for the podcast, right? I prefer most of the time to talk about facts relating to cybercrime, or something that happened so we can talk about new threat vectors, new malware, and new stuff. So we can also um, take take ourselves updated with what happens and help you in the process. Um, but this is something different, still very important to talk about. So we decided to bring it. So basically we're talking about Kevin Mitnick, who died this week, or I think last week, something like that. Um, in for pancreatic cancer. I
Pancreatic.
think
Yeah.
that's how you call it. And he was actually pretty young. If you don't know already, Kevin Mitnick was unfortunately very famous. Probably, they actually called him with a very specific term, the most famous hacker, or the most wanted hacker, right? From the 90s. They did, he wrote a list of books. I think there's a movie on his story, and really, anyone who works in technology or just is interested in it knows about him. Um, Mostly because when he was young in the 90s, he was together with, probably a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
Um, you know there were no laws mostly about internet and computers, so they were just having fun, compromising environments and companies and systems and technologies out there. He was very good at it, apparently. And he became very famous on the underground, right? On the um, hacking communities because of that. uh, Unfortunately, he became also really famous uh, for law enforcement, right? Because he was compromising so many big companies that he became a big target. And in a moment when, again, governments and law enforcements were trying to address the hacking for fun issue, because for most companies out there was still an issue, right? They had to, I think, to just take someone and make it an example. If we, if we law enforcement find someone and make him pay for what they did, maybe they will stop doing so, right? Because it was not an industry, right? Cybersecurity was not an industry back then. No one was really caring about securing the systems. No one had the knowledge to do so. No one had the budget or anything. This is actually a very recent thing, right? The last, I don't know, 10, 15, maybe years or something. Um, and back then it was a big problem for big companies starting to do internet businesses or just providing products and services online, right? So he was an example you know in any from any point of view, right?
Yeah.
And he was eventually incarcerated by law enforcement, like by FBI or something, for a
FBI,
few
yes.
years. Yeah. And you know he basically started a revolution. There were so many people around the world that were basically making a riot because of him being incarcerated, and compromising other systems out there and defacing websites. So changing, the website um, to spread the word about, freeing, Kevin Mitnick. That's why this is the title of the episode, right? Right, free Kevin, because that was the slogan they were using in that moment, right? So maybe people, in the streets, in front of companies and law enforcements and governments, and also online everywhere on forums and the facing websites, they were saying to free Kevin, right? He
Yeah.
was really a big personality, I would say. For many people, we started to be interested in this industry, to work in this industry. And I will also admit that I read some of his books. His knowledge about social engineering specifically was really interesting for me, and you know, I think I'm gonna say that publicly. I actually tried to invite him on the podcast as well at some point. So unfortunately, we will not have the pleasure to have him uh, for this reason. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
sure. Yeah, I would say just adding what you already said. In before the dot-com explosion,
Bubble, right?
yeah, bubble, there was no big information about internet and networking technologies, so it was not for everybody. And they were, in my opinion, they were knowing what they were doing, but they were testing. So they were targeting specific companies, technologies, but they were testing. So they were doing real hacking. They were trying to, what does it happen if I put this bit instead of this one, or if I add a bit, or if I add random bits? So we, um, he is the, let's say, the image or the cover to all that, because we know him very well, because he was arrested and he put his face uh, in front of everything. Um, but like him, many others, they were testing how, and he changed. I mean, after the arrest, he started his own company, and he said, okay, I cannot do it for fun. I'll do it for as a job. I will get paid to test what happens if I break things, or if things breaks. So I would say that this was a movement that it was it is normal when a new technology comes out. um, and the free Kevin movement was quite important for our job today. So without the free Kevin movement, maybe the cybersecurity would have looked
would have been
different.
different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think so. Right. So again, uh, he was really a personality. Together with him, few other people from the same, time period, became very famous, right, for kind of the similar reasons. And I just wanted to take this news exactly to talk about those kind of topics, right? So what was the really the real beginning of cybersecurity as an industry, like when there was no job industry, like when it was really hacking. So I don't use the word hacking very often, because I really think, and this is my personal opinion, that that's more what was in those days, right? So people who just for the, just for fun, just the sake of curiosity, right? They were trying to see what happens if I just do something that is unexpected for this software or for this technology or for this, I don't know, anything else. And just because they were curious, they were actually gaining access to, you know, very important data, very important company system. So basically, a very young guy that, which only skill was basically curiosity. At the very core of it, it was only curiosity for a technology that no one was really understanding around the world. Okay, maybe not even the people who built it, right? Because
yeah,
if you think about internet, if you think about computer systems, they were not designed to be secure. Security was not a concern, was not a thing, at all, right? Security became a thing because a bunch of kids from the 90s, and it's not, I'm not saying this as an offense. Actually, it's a good thing, right?
yeah,
Because of a simple and, pure thing like curiosity or kids' curiosity,
yeah,
they, make the world aware that, this technology is going to change the world, right?
hmm,
This technology is core for our lives, and because it's so important, you also have to think about security, because we are now doing, like, we know they were saying we are now doing it for fun, right? But they were basically anticipating what it's happening today, right? Today we have cyber criminals, right? And without nothing knowing about what they were doing in the 90s, probably we couldn't be able to defend from those criminals today, because as Kevin did, many people just pivoted, from
Hmm.
hacking for fun to hacking for profit, or maybe hacking for fun and profit as well. Which, why not? That's probably the best thing. And they became basically the most um, experts in the field, the first and the most experts.
Yeah.
And they created the first companies out there, right, providing services. In this article, actually, I really suggest everyone to have a look at this. There are many articles that are talking about it, obviously, but I found this one from the New York Times pretty just comprehensive, talking about so much stuff about Kevin and his life, that's it's worth to have a read of it. And it's mentioned here that uh, when he just was freed, right, from the jail, he immediately started to be a consultant for the companies he himself have breached in the past, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's saying something. Maybe today is actually more common, right? You see in the news here and there that hacker hired by, I don't know, NCA or any other company, but this was the very first time that a company is breached, they lose money, or they just they just are very damaged by the attack itself, and then they don't know, or they do not find anyone that is able to help with that problem, and the
Mm.
only person that is available to do so is the, the actual attacker, is the actual hacker doing so. So he
Yeah.
eventually did good, right? uh, so this is a tough topic. Like, I so at the time, maybe it was not really legal, right? So they were definitely not doing anything illegal technically.
Yeah.
I still don't think it's really good to just enter someone system, or just enter someone home because it's open.
Yeah. Correct.
um, but again, it's really important that they did. It's really important that Kevin did what he did at the time. He spread
Yeah.
awareness on all of this.
Yeah. And he was able to also turn it in a company, success company, I would say, um, with writing books also, spreading knowledge. He was at many times at conferences, spreading knowledge, raising awareness. So he was not just a guy behind a computer hacking and
Mhm.
coding. He was also able to to speak in public and to stand for the good part of it. I mean, um, hacking, in my opinion, so I agree with you. Hacking is no more nowadays. Hacking is different. So I don't use hacking as a word often either. Um, but at that time, hacking was something important, and the field was very wide. And Google was not out there, so search engines were not there. If you wanted
Knowledge was
in
not there, right?
knowledge was not there, so it's not that like today, how open chat GPT or Google or Yahoo or Bing or I don't know name DuckDuckGo, and you look for how can I strengthen my security at home. So and you will find your door key opener or your firewall, your 3000 solution, and you can choose whatever you want. At that time, the technologies and the hardware was one, two, three different kind of hardwares, and most of the time, if one of the hardware was having uh, an issue, all the hardware will have it. And so I would say he did something not very good at the beginning, but then he used his knowledge to build something quite important. Um, yeah, it's not the a good news, unfortunately. So it's not a news that
Nope.
that brings us um,
Yeah,
something
happiness, right?
good, happiness, yes. But it was worth mentioning it because uh, it's it's a big part of the of what we do today. Is the history is there, and yeah, many people refers to him, and
Yeah,
yeah,
as
it's
someone to to follow, or someone to look at as a as an idol or something, right? Um,
and I would thank the
I
fact that
actually,
he wrote books. He many recordings are available because we can continue to learn from what he did or wrote. So
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. I
and
actually want.
go.
Yeah, sorry. I just want to take the chance to talk about this. Um, so you mentioned two things. He brought, a lot of books. Actually, I didn't read all of them, but at this point, I think I'll, recover what I missed, and that he was able to speak. Right. I think this is an important thing that, uh, you know, um, uh, you know, that Kevin in some way. Um, teached, right, in many ways. So we have two aspects here. I know multiple people from the industry today that are very computer geniuses, right?
Hmm.
Which are very smart. Still, social skills, or whatever you want to call them, soft skills or whatever, are not maybe the best of their skills, right? They are very good with computers, that they are not maybe that good with people as well. They are not good at speaking, right? With different goals, right? Depending on what do you want to achieve. um he was actually very good at it, right? And I think, one of the books I read is, how is it called? The Art of Deception.
Invisibility.
Yeah, I'm one of those. Anyway, the point is that the book is all focused on social engineering, right? Um, Social engineering is something that he was very good at, right? And for me, it's incredible how he started with that in the 90s. So he was very good with computers as well, right? But at the same time, he found out that just calling someone and asking them for the credentials most of the time works if you know what to say, if you know how to say it, right? And the point is that we say that many times in the podcast and outside, that phishing is still the most used attack vector at all, right?
Yeah.
So social engineering is something that maybe was born with Kevin and people like him in the 90s, and it's the only thing that it's exactly the same as it was in the 90s today, and is as effective in the 90s as it today, right?
Yeah.
So technologies changes, right? You have to find out new ways to exploit vulnerabilities, new ways to bypass new security solutions, right? In the 90s they were known, but today a company can have, I don't know, tens of different security solutions, and an attacker today have to bypass most of them, all of them, to breach the company defenses. But the point is that if you know how to social engineer someone, right, to just convince someone to give you access, right, uh, that's all you need, right?
Hmm.
If you can
Yeah.
convince the IT administrator to just enable an account and give you VPN access, that's something that happens out there, right? Is still the most effective thing. And this is something that very few people are actually able to do, right? Even in the industry, even from the very experts, because it's not something that they are really focusing on. But
Yeah.
some criminals are. And, I think that, again, as defenders, as security practitioners, we have to know about this as well. We have to know that this is a possibility, and again, is also thanks to Kevin if we know something about it. So I really suggest to have a read of his books, because in this specifically is actually basically explaining step by steps a list of scenarios, you know both real and hypothetical scenarios where social engineering was used to breach or just to get access to buildings or get access to information in a very very easy and simple way, without having to exploit any computer or any system at all, just exploiting people and put people vulnerabilities.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think you read the Art of Intrusion book,
Right,
but
that's the one.
I'm
Thank
not
you.
sure. Okay. So yes, because I was googling it because I didn't remember how many the Art of he wrote, and I found three. So yes,
Yeah.
I think the Art of Intrusion.
Yeah, I think there are more actually, but still.
Yeah. Well, Wikipedia is saying three. Three, the art of. So there is the art of
All right. Yeah.
deception, which is the oldest. Then the art of intrusion. Then the art of invisibility. I read the Ghost in the Wires, and this was
Hmm.
a good and fun read.
So that's
Um,
the one
there,
that tells about his history, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. So yes, because in the past years, during some, I don't read a lot books, but during the summertime, I take some time under the sun, like this, some hours, and I try to read something useful. And I like biographies, so I read
Hmm.
Snowden's one, I read um, Mitnick's one, and I read some others. And reading this was a good read, so I would suggest people to read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I still need to read that one, and I'm just googling right now. I actually can confirm that the one I read was The Art of Deception, so the
Ah,
oldest
okay.
one. I just didn't know the name because I read it in Italian, which has a different name.
No, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, that's an interesting one, and probably also the others. So you don't need me to say it, but ever read those books if you are into books. I'm actually pretty much into books, just not reading as much as I will do recently. Maybe even because a podcast that is taking so much time.
Don't know what you're talking
Uh,
about.
no idea. But yeah, no, it's of course, reading news is I think part of the developing process. But even books, it's definitely a great idea if you have time, if you are into reading, and so on. Yeah, just I maybe just missed something before, still related
Yeah,
to the social engineering thing. You know, I think he actually had multiple companies, right?
yeah,
And one of those, or I would say the most famous one, just because I knew about it even before knowing about Mitnick, was a security awareness company. So what does it mean? Um, Pretty much all of the industry agrees that the only way to defend from social engineering is making people aware, right,
hmm,
that there could be some kind of attack. So you know they should see some signals, some alerts whenever some specific things happen. So some specific words are used, some specific tone of voice are used by other people. So he started this company back in, I don't really know when, and as he, many other companies born to do the same thing. So basically, just I'm not really 100% sure, but I think they are pretty much developing courses and way to spread knowledge about social engineering and phishing and cybersecurity attacks, for not for security practitioners, but for everyone, like for the employees of the companies themselves, right? Because that's the only way, again, that you can enable your employee to defend itself. You can work on the technology side, of course, but if you want to raise the bar as much as possible, you have to work both on the technology side and the human side.
Yeah.
And the only patch, the only fix to the human system that we have is actually knowledge and awareness, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if everyone agrees about that, but I'm pretty much into this opinion.
Yeah.
So,
I agree. I totally agree with you.
like, I'm not sure he started that specific kind of service, maybe not, but still, the fact that he was so good in that kind of arts or
Yeah.
techniques, and at the same time, I don't know, many customers they currently have that they are uh, enabling, they are teaching, right, how to defend. It's another thing that I think made the difference in some way,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
Even for other companies who, let's say, copied or just emulated the same kind of services and started their own,
Mm.
right?
Yes. Definitely.
So
Okay.
so there are a lot of things that we could actually discuss
Yeah.
about Mythic Life. Probably, yeah, I think it's just interesting to mention something that I didn't know, maybe because I didn't read that actual book you mentioned
Yeah.
before, that it's mentioned here somewhere in the news. But the point was that he was really famous because he uh, escaped from law enforcement for a lot of time before being caught. And there are a lot of stories. I'm not really sure if all of them are true, right? Because they are just some stories told by him or by people who knew him, right? Like I
Yeah.
don't think we have actually the clues, but probably some or most of them are true, where he, I don't know, exploited radio technologies to find out what the FBI was investigating about him, or he was into the systems of law enforcement to predict where they're going to where they were going to find him, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he could escape in time. Or at some point there's also mentioned that he law enforcement went on his place to find him, and they actually found a package of donuts,
Yeah.
which
Exactly.
is but it was part of, again, I think, the hacking you know uh,
Personality. Yeah.
yeah, movement and everything. It was all done for fun, right?
Yeah.
If you are, I don't think that if you are a criminal, you are thinking about something like that. You are very, that's how a kid's mind works, right?
Works.
That you want to make
You do
joke of
something for fun.
someone.
Yeah. You make
Yeah.
things just for fun,
And
and yeah.
yeah. But the another very interesting part is that at some point, apparently, law enforcement was able to find him, also thanks to another personality, another person that I really need to find the name because I'm not going to remember that.
Mhm.
Mm-mm. Just give me a second.
Yeah, I don't remember either, so I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it.
Oh, here it is. Okay. Mr. Shimomura, right?
Okay, yes.
Um, Basically, Tsutomu Shimomura was another hacker from the 90s, right? Another from basically the same community. And apparently, Kevin Mitnick hacked, or breached the systems, the Shimomura systems, right? Again, in the same spirit of making fun of each other, right? From also from the same community. The point is that he did that during the period where law enforcement was behind Kevin, right? And Shimomura didn't take it that well, so he actually decided to help the FBI and the law enforcement to find Kevin. So at that point, law enforcement, which of course didn't have any or very poor knowledge about computers and internet and all of the knowledge that Kevin had, uh, you know that was something that Shimomura had. And I think there's another book from Shimomura where he tells the story from his point of view and everything. I have really no idea. I should read all of them, but uh, it's going to be interesting for me trying to understand, as much as possible, the real story behind it, right? Because it's interesting to see how at the time to track a hacker, you needed another hacker,
Yeah.
and that was actually it, right? That was actually apparently the way they could find and catch Kevin Mitnick, right? Still, Shimomura unfortunately is not as famous as Kevin. uh, I don't know, maybe you will say that still it's I don't know, it's cooler if you are the one that law enforcement are searching for, not the one that is helping law enforcement, which I don't know, in my opinion, is a little unfortunate, right? They probably have had comparable skills and knowledges, and still you can learn something from this story. So I don't know. It's also interesting to see how reputation works depending
Mm.
on what you did. Like how many other hackers from the 90s are not known at all just because we're not catched by by law enforcement, right?
But yeah, or they were very, very, very good in hiding themselves. So even to other hackers,
Yeah.
because for sure they
Yeah, I
hit
mean,
each
it's
other
not that
somehow.
Mitnick was not good enough. It
No, no,
was
no, no,
just
no,
he
not
was
at all.
the target of law enforcement. Like
Yeah,
how many others were just not target because of luck, right? Why Mitnick and not any other person? And I think that was also something like that started the movement. Like,
yeah,
why are you targeting a single person just because you are angry at an entire segment or entire of a group of people around the world? And uh, that was part of the story as well. And yeah, I think we're going through the end of the episode. I just wanted to mention this last thing, and that is apparently on the very day he left, Kevin left prison, right? He even after all of those years in a jail, he still said publicly, all I'm just let's say translating with my own words. I was doing only stuff for fun. It was not with the goal of providing damages or doing illegal stuff. My only crime is uh, you know to be curious, right? Which was partly true for the period with poor regulations. And most people taking Kevin defenses were saying this. He did not use the data he was accessing for profit. He was not really selling them online or something. It was not doing it for criminal purposes, right? That's I will say that's surely the case, right? um but of course, again, today we have regulations because of that, right?
Yeah.
Today we have regulations and some level of security because someone like Kevin did that in the early 90s. So we really I think we really have to thank all of that movement, all of that community, all of that um, spirit that was driving all of the kids to just compromise random systems. Thank you to them, but let's not suggest today kids to do so as well. You can do
Yeah.
it for profit, okay? You can do it for fun and profit. Just wait
Today,
until
yes.
you can work.
Yeah. 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 Today, yes. Today you can do it.
Yeah, the world changed. Hopefully, there are people who are still curious, as much as Kevin or close to that, right? uh, just I think we should drive for more ethical or just more legal, right, way to do stuff, or just to provide our knowledge and our skills to the world and to the system, right? That's still my opinion, but you are more than welcome to say your own, you know in the comments, or just write us directly, or whatever you prefer. Any feedback are much appreciated, especially if come back to the one of the next episodes and join live during the Twitch streaming. Otherwise, just feel free to have a look at the recordings on YouTube and or Spotify. I thank you very much once again, Fabio. You
Man, it's a
currently have the
pleasure. Of
record of number of episodes, so I think I'm going to take like a I don't know, a
a
top 10 or
chart.
top 5, and yeah. So you're on the good, you're on a good way. Thank
It
you
was
very
a
much
pleasure.
once again.
Thanks to
I
you,
think
man.
that's I think that's gonna be all for today as well. Hopefully, every one of you found this interesting, and in that case, see you on the next episode. So, bye everyone, and
Bye
see
bye.
you.